Hello, my name is Beate Gillette, and in this episode of the Business Growth Architect Show, I personally take you through the idea of why you need to constantly improve yourself and why that matters. I'm going to give you the 3 essential questions you need to ask yourself every single time before you make a change, and then the 3 pieces that you need to know on the litmus test on whether or not you're still completely on target with making your self-improvements step by step. Go to the show now and listen to the full episode. And hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here. I am the host of the Business Growth Architect Show, and I want to welcome you to today's episode where we discuss how to navigate strategy and spirituality to achieve time and financial freedom. Truly successful people have learned how to master both, a clear intention and a strategy to execute that in a spiritual practice that will help them to stay in alignment and on purpose. Please enjoy the show and listen to what our guest today has to say about this very topic. Hello and welcome back. This is your host, Beate Gillette, for another episode of the Business Growth Architect Show, where we are focusing on spiritual blueprints for strategic growth. And today I want to talk about a topic that I think is really super important, especially right now, and that is how do you constantly improve yourself? Why would you need to do that? Why is this important? And how does improving yourself helps you to get more of what you want? So I want to start with talking about some of the stuff that I see overall right now, and that is that there is a lot of anxiety, a lot of ADHD, ADD, depression. People are really, in my opinion, searching for something that makes them happy, that they can live in their own purpose, that they have an impact that they're making, where they really feel that there's a reason why they're on this planet, why they're doing what they do. And if you can't find this, a purpose, or if you give more than what you get back, then oftentimes what happens, there's a response, a physical response. There could be illness, there could be depression, as I said, there could be all kinds of things that are happening, chronic migraines, autoimmune system diseases. We know that there's a connection between your brain and your body. So the happier you are, the healthier you probably are, and the more aligned you are with your spiritual practice, the more successful you can be. Now, I have worked with a lot of very, very successful people in my capacity as a photo editor for Elle magazine, as a photography producer. I produced 2 music videos in my lifetime, and other than that, mostly still photography production. I built and sold a business to Bill Gates for millions of dollars. So I have a lot of experience about people that are really in the 1% of their craft. And I have learned that the more successful people are, the deeper their spiritual connection really is. And spirituality in the context of this show is not about necessarily you going to church, but spirituality is being a connection to energy, or having a connection to something that's larger than you. If you are not connected to the divine, universe, spirit, whatever you may want to call it, it's very difficult to find purpose, because then you just, plopped here on this planet. You were here for a little bit and then you leave, and it was all for nothing. That just kind of doesn't even really make sense. When I look at the data that comes from some of science, I find that the science that I'm seeing is very connected to the spirituality that I'm personally exploring more and more. If you listening to this podcast, you have probably heard my story about my ayahuasca journey, my spiritual journey in Costa Rica, and the learnings that I took from them, which is one of the reasons why we added spirituality into this podcast. I've always been a very spiritual person in that sense. I work a lot with my intuition. Anybody who's ever worked with me knows that I kind of get these downloads and then I just know, and it's not even a question, I just know, and I apply that for my clients. And then suddenly we're building these things that are really aligned with their purpose and their value system. Need to improvement is counteracted by something that creates a lot of friction. And the friction is created by, guess what? Your desire to feel secure and the challenges that we have as humans, as people, with change. So we feel secure when we can rely on certain things, that every Sunday we go there, we play tennis once a week, we watch football, we go to work at this time, we get paid this much. And then we are challenged with change when change requires us to actually do what the word says, is to gasp, make the actual change. So let's talk about that. So understanding self-improvement, or the need to constantly improve yourself, is based on one very simple notion. If you want to get more, you need to be more. If you, where you are at right now, that is the threshold of what you can achieve right at this very moment with what you know and what you do. If where you are at right now is no longer working for you and you want to be somewhere else, then you need to figure out how people act that are in that caliber, or what you need to learn or do to become that. That is improvement, and improvement means change. You probably heard these examples 1,000 times. Somebody who is overweight and wants to be fit has to actually go to the gym and do the work. You can't think yourself fit. You can't learn another language unless you actually sit down and learn it. So you can't get to a different place in your life, in your career, in your success with your business, personally, unless you do the work. And now here is the problem. You're running up against now some of the old trauma that you have in your life. And the trauma is that somebody didn't love you, somebody didn't respond, you were ridiculed, you were mistreated by your mom, your dad. I've been pretty badly abused by my own mother. And I had to really come to terms with why that happened to me and what exactly happened. And then what relevance does it have in my life now? Because you may have been victimized like I have, but you may choose not to live as a victim like I do. But it is exponentially much easier to blame ourselves or to blame that person, to say, well, they really screwed me up, and because I'm such a screw up, I cannot not do this, or I can't change from here on forward. And so that's what I want to really go into next, is to say, given the history of my journey to get here, to be a self-made multimillionaire, to be a mom, a single mom my entire life, and to now being in a committed relationship for over 10 years, and finding this space where I really feel I live an amazing life and I'm very blessed. It doesn't mean that I have problems. I solved the money problems, but I still have other things. Stuff still happens in my life. It's not that that goes away. It's just that the money thing has been figured out. So you want to go and really think about this now on your perspective, right? What is it that you feel that is rightfully yours, or the dream that you're having that you want to achieve, but somehow you're not making it there, right? And that typically is where the trauma lies, or where the problem lies that needs to be resolved. Because in spirituality, or in a lot of the teaching, it is said that the mess is the message, that as you are identifying what the mess is and you move through it, that's the message you're here to share, or that's the teaching you're here to do. I find that a powerful piece, certainly in my own life. I'm not wanting to speak for you, but I want you to really think about this on where is it that you really want to go. I mean, that's the first thing I ask all my clients. Anybody who ever talks to me will hear that very first question out of my mouth. Why are you here? What do you want? Right? So let's talk about what is the challenge of change. What is it really? We change when we have more pain where we are right now than our fear of change. I'm going to say that one more time. You change when the fear of change is less than the pain of you staying here. So the pain of you remaining in this moment, or experiencing what you're experiencing right now, has to be so intense for the change to initiate. People don't change when life is grand. When you're happy, there's no need for you to change, but you do change when things are not good. So just be aware of that. The constant improvement of yourself comes from that you want something other than you have. So let's talk about what is the spiritual blueprint for this particular self-improvement. So a spiritual blueprint is your understanding of saying, that I am committed to learning and doing what it takes to get to this particular point. So if I want to be Warren Buffett, one of the most powerful investors we've ever seen, or Ray Dalio, then you would go and study what they do. And then you realize their pattern, which is well documented in documentaries and interviews and a lot of their writings and what they've talked about. You get a glimpse into what is it that these two very successful investors have been doing. And then you need to emulate that behavior, because obviously you're not doing what they're doing. It's not a difficult concept. And I think that that's what people really often get hung up. If you're a business owner and you're not making sales, and you look at what successful businesses do, they got the lead generation and the sales figured out. So if you want to be that, then the improvement for you needs to be to figure out how to fix your lead generation and your sales process so that you have figured out how to move through that to get to that exact point. If somebody is in a successful relationship and you are not, then you want to emulate what is it that they do. Most of the time they have to become this person that partner that they're searching for is actually attracted to. Because if they are not that part today and they want to attract that kind of person, it's not going to work. It's a mismatch. They're going to get dumped because somebody of that caliber that they envision has a requirement to be with somebody of a very particular caliber. Now, if that is not you, of course it's not going to work. So you might find the great person, but they don't want to be with you. So this spiritual blueprint really relates to your understanding that there is a self-improvement pattern or a self-improvement plan, a self-improvement blueprint you want to get to where you are the person that attracts that success, that kind of client or that kind of revenue. The blueprint, the definition on how do you invent something like that, right? Again, very practical to me. What does this person do? How does somebody like this act that operates on that level? I'm going to give you an example. In one of my classes, I was talking to one of my mentees, and she had tried to find a virtual assistant for a very low fee, like $3 to $5, which I thought was extremely low. I would never hire somebody for $3 to $5 because I just don't think that anybody of any kind of quality is operating at that level. But she insisted because she knew it was possible. And at the same time, there were multi-million dollars in contracts that she was signing. And I said, well, so somebody who just signed $3 million in contracts, who do they hire? What kind of virtual assistant would somebody like this hire? And she said, well, probably somebody really good. I said, why are you wasting your time on a $3 to $5 virtual assistant? And how much time does it take you to find that person? How much time do you need on onboarding? And then she says, well, when you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous. I said, because it is ridiculous. So you want to be in that mindset in your spiritual blueprint to say, this is where I'm going. And here is a blueprint that I need to follow to become that person that has that level of success. That's the only way it works. So let's talk about breaking this down. I want to give you some very tangible takeaways on how to implement that actually. So what are the 3 key questions for up-leveling in your life, right? So let's say you're listening to the show. Thank you. I'm very grateful you're here. I love it. I want to share what I have with you. I love it when the lights go on. I love it when you land your plane. I'm going to give you what I know because my joy comes out of helping you make an impact. So thanks again for being here. So the key questions for self-improvement are very, very simple. Number 1, you ask yourself, is what you want possible? What's the answer to that? Well, the answer to that's a clear yes. Of course it's possible. Somebody's already doing it, right? So then, if it is possible for someone else, is it theoretically possible for you? Well, the answer to that is yes, because if it is possible and it's possible for somebody else, of course it has to be possible for you. And now the third question now does no longer say, is it possible, but how will it be possible for me? Because then you shift out of the questioning to the action mode, And you're helping your brain figure out the places where your brain needs to go to say, how do I now get the information for me and to me that I need to know to become this particular person in that? So is it possible? If it's possible, is it possible for me? If it's possible for me, then the question is not can I, but how can I? Very simple. Now, the next piece after that is once you know that this is all possible and you want to initiate the change, your self-improvement, you look at 3 different things. Number 1, do you have the mindset? Do you actually truly deeply believe that this is possible for you? If it isn't, that's where you need to start, right here. The next thing is your skill set. Do you have what it takes to get there? That's where people like me come in. That's why I'm the growth architect. That's why I work with a lot of leadership development, because in order to get to a particular point, in order to run a multi-million-dollar business, you do need to have a particular skill set. You need to know what you're talking about. So what are the things that you need to be skilled in? Strategy, processes, workflows, whatever that sort of might be. That comes next. And third is the action. Are you actually taking the action, or are you sitting here and you're waiting for something to be happening? Now, that's the goal here really for you, is to look at this. If I want to make the change, if I want to constantly improve myself because I don't like where I am at, then I'm going to ask myself these 3 questions. Is it possible? Is it possible for me? If it's possible for me, then how can I? And then the how can I goes to, do I have the mindset? Do I have the skill set, and am I taking consistent action to do so? That is it. That is how simple it is to constantly improve yourself. Now we talk about how do we integrate the spiritual and the strategic approach, right? So the goal for me always is, I just had a conversation this morning and I said that my current brand is kind of like the badass grandma. I have a lot of experience in this. I've been an entrepreneur for 40 years, really. And you come to me for shortcuts because if I have 15 minutes, I'll choose a FaceTime with my granddaughter, who is almost a year old, anytime over some sort of fishing expedition with somebody who wants to find out if there's synergies and collaborations. You come to me, you better know what you're asking me to do, because I'm not going to help you with my time to figure out what you're asking me to do for you. That's just ludicrous, right? So this badass grandma thing that I've been playing with a little bit, and let me know what you think of this idea. I'm actually quite amused by it, and I get some good resonance with it, but haven't really entirely fully committed to it. It sounds kind of old if you really want to know, but that's a different story. But you want to go in and now say, what's it really? Why are you really doing it for? So if I am a grandmother, which I am, and I now look at my life, what really matters, like how do you want to come out of this at the end of it? And how you want to come out of it at the end of it is very simple. You want your children to talk to you. You want your children's children to hang out with you and think you're the coolest person on the planet. You want to make some money. You want to have a partner that still talks to you, that you still want to be intimate with, that you still want to touch, somebody who turns out to really truly love you and to love whom you can love in return, stuff to be able to do together, and adventures and experiences to be had, and money to pay for it. I mean, isn't that where you want to get out? So if I take the approach, which I have, and I say, I'm going to give you the goal, how do you want to arrive here? And then I'm going to reverse engineer the whole thing. And I'm going to give you all the different steps on what you can do if you so choose to get this particular point. Then I can guarantee you, if you follow that you end up in a place where you actually enjoy what you have. And I truly, truly am so grateful for what I've created for myself, what I've been able to manifest, what I've been able to attract to myself. And of course there's stuff, of course there's a cash flow issue here, or there's something else here, or there's a conflict, or maybe a fight or a misunderstanding. These are all normal things. That's what's called life. But the point of this balanced approach is to not blow up your life while you get there. So you can get there and say, the journey was awesome. I'm here now. It just keeps getting better and better and better. So in conclusion, so what we were talking about today is the constant need to improve yourself. I choose to make this a solo episode because I really feel that there's a necessity right now to get this message out to you and to connect with you on a really personal level on some of the things that's been going on in my life, which I've shared, my grandchild, my spiritual journey, and I'm still going through changes. I was on a podcast and it and the hosts were asking me, is there one thing you want to learn? I said, only one thing. My permanent fear in life is that I'm running out of time to learn all the things that I want to learn, because I always want to be better. And that really need to be your litmus test. Your litmus test in life is not, are you satisfied where you are at, but is what you do going to want to make you be better? That is my litmus test for everything in life. Do I want to be better? And I recommend that sort of as a little takeaway for today's session, for this episode, to say, is this episode making me want to be better? Then it was a good episode. Then I've done my job. Is the conversation I'm having next wanting to make me be better? Am I taking the actions? Do I believe it's possible? So that you are always in this constant motion, that you make really this constant self-improvement part of your daily habits. And of course, your spiritual practice should go hand in hand with that. My own personal spiritual practice is I listen to a particular type of music that I was listening to when I was in the ayahuasca journey, because it takes me back into this mindset of spirituality. I do take a particular gummy that creates a CBD gummy that takes me in that sort of vibration of my spiritual journey. I meditate almost every day. I use an app called Calm. There's a gentleman by the name of Jeff in there, which I think is absolutely amazing. 10 minutes every day is kind of like all you need. I'm not a great meditator, and he just gives me sort of permission to be a messy meditator, and I really, really love that. So that is it for us for today. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you are taking one or two things away from this particular episode. Put it in the notes, in the comments, reach out to me personally, reply to an email if you get one, however you get a hold of me anywhere on social media, and tell me if this made sense to you, and if I hopefully hit a little bit of a point there for you to wanting to be better. And please share this episode with one other person that needs to hear what we were talking about today. We're here to help the world be a little bit better and help people to really figure out what their impact is that they came here to do, and then give them the tools to do that. Thank you so much for being here, and until next time, and goodbye. So appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode. Please subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, a comment, and share this episode with one more person so that you can help us help more people. Thank you again. Until next time. Goodbye.